Hello, this is Pauline Jennings. Welcome to Musician Talk. First, I want to say thanks very much to my wonderful husband, Steve Jennings, for sitting in to interview Mike Legvold last week. And I am thrilled to be back in the interview seat to kick off a 3-show special dedicated to Rock and Roll Revival 25. What a milestone! Called Dancing in the Streets. It's a review-type show produced every 2 years at the high school. A show, mind you, that sells out quickly and consistently. Today, I'm pleased to be talking with Ray Coudret, the director since 2013 of Rock and Roll Revival. I had him on Musician Talk show number 16 to talk about his own musical career. And today is show number 35, and he's on this time to let us in on some of Rock and Roll Revival behind-the-scenes machinations and how this year has been very different due to the pandemic. Get your tickets at the high school page of the Northfield District Schools website today. Performances are May 14th through 16th outside at the high school. Let's dig into all of this and talk with director Ray Coudret. Hey Ray, great to have you back.
I'm so happy to be here.
I appreciate that you're taking the time. I know you're crazy busy with rehearsals for Rock and Roll Revival.
Spending a lot of time on that right now. Everything outside of school is rock and roll right now.
I bet it is. And so I was wondering what difficulties and what stumbling blocks you've had with COVID. What's been the biggest challenge?
Literally everything, but actually
Yes.
At this point, the biggest challenge is trying to figure out how to cover if we lose someone to COVID.
Oh, yeah.
Is the number one hardest thing, because the rest of it, I have a whole team of people, actually Bob Gregory Bjorklund and Sherry Setchel, and I spend a lot of time, and Tanya Legvold is involved in those decisions too, is trying to plan, figure out logistics, and how can we make this work? How can we get kids to be ready? And how can we really set the stage to make this enjoyable, which is really the whole reason why we're doing this, to give these kids new, and that's really positive and fun, and to give this gift really to the community. And that was our whole focus from the beginning, and it's still our focus right now.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. And it will be outside, as I understand it.
Yeah.
And so tell us about that, what the setup's going to be like.
So we'll be in the back parking lot of the high school, which is the auditorium parking lot. And if you know where the auditorium entrance is, we're going to put the stage kind of there and face the corner out towards the senior center in the back of the school. And we'll have 450 chairs set up per show. We're hoping to do 3 shows.
That's wonderful that you could get that many chairs in there.
We're going by all of the guidelines, following all the guidelines, making sure that everybody has space and that we can be safe. But it's going to be absolutely glorious. Every time I think about it, every time I talk to the kids, like, it's so exciting.
Well, and doing a gig outside, this, that the feel, the wind, the atmosphere is just great. You don't have to worry about feedback. The sound can be as big as it wants.
Yep. And we're going to have, so Roger Fetty Productions, and then Tom Leonard's doing the stage. It's not cheap, as you know, to do a production of this size, but both of those guys are giving us a really good rate for top of the line professional equipment. And
That's nice.
It's going to be pretty amazing.
So I would like to talk to you about the history a little bit. For those people who haven't heard, I can't imagine anybody having not heard of the Rock and Roll Revival. I'd like you to tell me a little bit of the history.
So I think Rock and Roll Revival was officially born on my birthday in 1995. So December 18th, 1995 is Monday night, it's a board meeting, and they approved funding for some sort of crazy music production. They had no idea what they were getting into. McCowan is the one who brought this idea forward, and Laura K. Allen, if you know who she has told the story to many, many different people about how the moment she heard it, she knew that this was going to be really cool and fun. And she said, we're going to do it.
Who brought it to the board you cut out there? What was the name of the person?
Tom McCowan.
Oh, yes. Okay, thank you.
He was the original director, and it's his baby for sure. He brought it. He did it in another school way out in Maryland, and they're actually still doing it. They do it every year.
That's great.
They've done 40 some shows. This is our 14th. And it's the 25th anniversary this year.
Yes, that's nice. That is wonderful. A great way to celebrate it, doing it outside, like it was planned that way, right?
It wasn't quite planned, but yeah, I like the positive spin there. The first show is the only one that didn't sell out. Once people saw the first show, it sold out every other one. And we have a girl in the cast this year, Emma Bargery, and her mom was in number 1. The last show, we put her into the same poodle skirt that her mom wore.
That is great. How clever of you. Now, the theme this year is dancing in the streets. And I'm curious how you come up with the theme and decide what kind of music you're going to be doing, what genre.
Well, this one was probably a little bit easier for that part because Sherry and we put together the set list. We knew that we wanted this to be a celebration of coming back to live music. We were just talking to the cast on Saturday. This will be the first show that anyone has seen live outdoor in a chair in a year and a half for almost everyone that's there.
Wow.
It's all centered around that. The last song is Joy to the World. The first one is Dancing in the Streets. We got Stand By Me in there. I mean, it's all about joy, happiness, being together, getting through this time.
Wow, Ray, we need that. Let's talk about this video that you've put together. Actually, only hearing the audio, obviously, we're on radio, but I got to see it. Tell us about the musicians and the students that are performing some of these pieces that we're going to hear a montage of.
Absolutely. So the musicians we have on keys, he's probably one of our band leaders for sure, Colin Thomas Green. And then Greta Christofferson is on keys. On bass, we have Sam Nelson and Dave Shelby. And then on the drums, we have Simon McDonald and Håkan Rustad. And then on guitar, we have Kai Legvold, who is, to be honest, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this was Kai and his senior cohort, the kids who were doing it 2 years ago. I just didn't want to let them leave without their second opera. So along with Kai on guitar is Caden Rosga and Jose Vasquez. And then the band leader, of course, is the absolutely incomparable Craig Wasner. We all know he's a great musician and all of that. What most people don't know is what he does bringing this band along. Like, he is such a good mentor. And I say for this time, even more so, because his kind spirit comes along with the knowledge that he brings. So it's pretty impressive to watch.
Yeah, his kind spirit, that's a great way to put it. He surely does. And he's so encouraging. He just really is. Yep. So that's a great person to have as MD. So now that you set that up as to who's in it, tell me a little bit about why you chose the clips that you did to put together in this little compilation.
Well, so the kids, the vocalists, rehearsed on Zoom. As a matter of fact, all of their rehearsals were on Zoom until the audio you're going to hear right now. And the band had gone through the songs probably 1 or 2 times with Craig, and they've rehearsed or practiced on their own and then rehearsed the once or twice with Craig. And then this audio is the very first time the vocalists have heard the band, and it's more importantly, the first time they've heard each other live.
Wow.
This is a month and a half ago or so. So I don't even know if we had gotten back to school full time yet. So when you hear a harmony here, these kids are locking in and seeing that all of their rehearsal time worked, and the look on their face is just electric. They come out of the room just on fire because they don't, one of them, Barrett Aylan, is one of that she's singing Don't Let Me Down along with Grace Ryden in this little clip. She she pointed out to me, she's like, I haven't even seen her. Like, she didn't see it. They weren't in the same time at school. They hadn't seen each other in person. It was the first time they'd heard or seen each other, and it was pretty amazing. So
yeah, it sounds magical that everybody felt the magic there. And so, and you can hear it too. I mean, I'm amazed that this is the first time everybody's been together, how tight it sounds. So let's let the audience take a listen to this compilation of rehearsal for the Rock and Roll Revival this year called Dancing in the Streets. I'm Pauline Jennings, host of Musician Talk, and I'm speaking with Director of Rock and Roll Revival, Ray Coudret. You just heard a variety of clips from their first full band and vocalist rehearsal. Here's who and what was included. Girls Just Want to Have Fun, sung by Peyton Sullivan. Someday We'll Be Together, sung by Saija Maki-Waller. Can I Get a Witness, sung by Alana Barnes. Can't Take My Eyes Off of You, sung by Robbie Swenson, and Don't Let Me Down, sung by Barrett Allen and Grace Ryden. Again, that is just incredible that's their first time together, because they sound great. And just think what they're going to sound like after all the rehearsals. What you pulled off during COVID is pretty astounding.
Well, they have amazing training. One of the things that happened the other day in rehearsal is because of the way it's all put together, it's always piecewise. Everybody's rehearsing by themselves, and you bring the band, but we usually have 3 weeks together. And I think we're going to get about 4 or 5 runs at each song by the time the show comes around. So they're putting a ton of work on their own.
Yeah.
Saturday we got together and we played through one of the songs, and we brought in there's strings. There's 4 there's songs with strings. There's a horn section. And we brought it all together on Saturday for one of the songs. And one of the pieces was a little bit off, and the kids figured it out. They figured out what was wrong with the string and horn parts so that we could get those rewritten. And they were going through, they're like, no, this is written in this key, and there's, this many flats in here, so this has to be this key. And they're, the training that they have with our music department and the resources in town is just astounding.
It's astounding. And also what they're learning, so many things about working together and figuring out a problem and attacking it. There's just so many things they're learning about being in a group like this. I tell you, music, arts, that's what brings us all together. It teaches us probably more for our life than anything. But, yep. I happen to be in that world. So that's, of course, what I would think. How do you practice via Zoom, since you can't have 2 people talking at once or singing at once or playing and singing at once?
Yeah, well, that's pretty complicated. So the way Bob ran the vocal rehearsals is he would play the music for them. And then he had his piano, and he would kind of point out on the piano, he'd play the little notes for them. And then he'd play the music, and they would mute on their end and sing on just to themselves in their own room or whatever, and practice. And then he would ask them to sing this part. Okay, you feel like you got it? And that was it. And then they'd go work on it.
Wow. Good for them for putting in the time and work, and all of you.
Yeah, and the kids, they have put so much into it. And then also you got to remember, Bob has done this for a number of shows, many shows, not just this one, but his own. But he knows kind of where we're going. But a lot of times, I'm not going to lie, we've just had to say, don't worry, we're going to figure it out.
Sure.
And the kids have believed that we're going to figure it out. And then as
Right.
we've been able to.
That's great. So Bob is what's his role?
So Bob Gregory Bjorklund is the vocal director.
Okay, got it. That makes sense. And he's so wonderful. I mean, he pulls things out of you that you didn't even know that you had, and he does it effortlessly. How do you cast the show? How do you decide who's going to be in the show?
They pick their own song. They sing a minute. We taught them, or Sherry taught them, a dance via Zoom and video, and then they all danced on Zoom in their rooms, essentially.
Oh.
They'd go around and they'd sing their 1-minute song, and then Bob and Sherry and I get together. It takes many hours to place everyone.
I bet.
Sherry kind of figures out who she wants for dance pieces, for like the more complicated dance stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Bob will go home. This is after auditions, and he'll make a list of all the different kids that fit in any part. So soprano, alto, and so on. And then we get together, and most of the time when we get back together, we find that we all have similar notes. Like, oh my God, didn't this kid sound like this? Like, we've got Ella Andrew this year, and we're doing White Rabbit. And like, she literally sounds like Grace Slick.
Wow, that's not an easy task.
No. And then you hear people like, as you heard in the clip, Grace Ryden and Barrett Allen, like, you hear their voice. And we had Don't Let Me Down picked. It's the Lake Street Dive version. I don't know if you're familiar with that group, but
Yep.
They just really had this vocal blend, although we had to kind of guess because they didn't audition together.
Right.
We just thought like those voices are going to fit together. So it's a lot of knowing the music we're going to pick and hearing the kids and hearing that quality in their voice that sends you down that path.
It sounds like kind of when you have those meetings and you're agreeing on what you decided on separately, that it's the same thing when you get together with each other. It's kind of like things just fall into place like they're meant to be. So Ray, what have you learned about yourself by directing? How many years have you directed? I should ask that first.
I started in 2013. So this is my 5th show.
And what have you learned about yourself by putting this together and working? I know it's a heck of a lot of work.
Yeah, I think what I've learned is that the more calm and kind I can be, the more you can get out of every single person that's involved. And I've also learned that I can't put outside expectations on and operate off of those. It just has to be helping the kids to understand that it is their show, and it will be as good as they want it to be. And that's going to be good enough. It's going to be incredible, but it really isn't. It isn't like that's going to sell them short. It's just that it all has to kind of come from them.
I bet to a person, they all want to work hard and make it the best it can be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
There are kids who have told us, well, I've had it happen many times. I'll get a kid in class in August, and auditions are this is my first year, 2013. I remember it just crystal clear. This girl was incredibly excited about auditioning, and she's in my class. I'm going to be with her every day all year, and I have no idea if she can even sing. Right. I don't. So you're kind of like, you're trying to be encouraging, but also not mislead anyone. And sure enough, this girl was our first audition that year. And I almost cried when I heard her sing. It was that good. It was
Oh.
Jenny Hardis is the name of the girl, and she just blew it out of the water. It was so good. And she did a lead, and it was like one of the best I've seen, which is, which means it's one of like 100 because there's so.
Right. Well, that was my next question. We're kind of getting to the end here, and I wanted to ask you about some. I know that it's hard to pick them because you don't want to favor anybody necessarily because there's so many great moments. But you just told us one. Are there a couple more that you want to mention? Just highlights, not necessarily, somebody's solo, but just where everything kind of came together, kind of moments for you, or does that kind of every year or every time?
It's every show, and I put on a couple other concert series and things too, and people have asked me about those in a similar way, like what's your favorite song, what's your favorite artist, what's this and that. And you kind of approach everyone like it's just a brand new thing all on its own, and it's gonna be the best one. Like this one,
Yeah.
I actually said it. This will be the best one, and it should be. The last one was the best one, and the one before that was the best one. We have all of these shows that went before, like you get to build on them. Look at your show. Don't you look at these? I mean, you've put a lot of work into this. Don't you look at this and see like, wow, that was really cool right there because this happened and I learned this piece and now I bring that to the next one, and they all just get better because of all that experience that you have.
Right. And also they get better because most of all, because I'm learning. But you're right. You're so right. From every one, I can pick a moment that just said, that is exactly what I want. That's exactly why I want to be doing this.
I do have an all-time favorite moment, and I'll share it with you right now because
Okay.
it's a perfect example. This is a perfect example of why I love this show. So this was the first year I did it, 2013, and the girl's name is Taylor Herlihy. We had 200 and some kids, 250 kids, I think it was, audition that year.
Wow.
You can't possibly take that many.
Right.
Every cut just hurts because you know what it's like. You've been there, I've been there. So Taylor originally didn't make the show, and she was so close, but we had to cut. Like we said, we're going to cut at 100. And then we kept adding and adding. And eventually, you're doing 500 costumes, and it's the scope of the show is insane. So you have to stop because you can't physically do it. Okay. So we have these fake cameras on the set. Inside the fake camera is a real camera, and we made it so it looked like American Bandstand. So Roger Fetty figured out a way to make it black and white grainy by pulling out this specific cable on the audio feed or the video.
Oh, cool.
Put on a screen in the back of the stage that looks like a giant TV, and we're doing Cherry Cherry, the Neil Diamond song, and it looks like we are on American Bandstand. We got a kid on each side with the fake cameras. The whole stage pivots stage left and faces Taylor's camera, and it goes up on the screen, and it's like this big moment in the show.
Wow.
I'm watching from the back of the auditorium, and I see something's bad, something's wrong. And what happened is the video feed got unplugged. So this cable goes into this fake camera, and Taylor, who almost didn't make the show, is sitting there on the camera. She notices the video isn't on the screen, and within seconds, like flips open the lid to where the camera is, reaches in there, plugs in this piece. Like, you got to know, she had no idea except that she was the camera. She didn't know how it plugged in, nothing. She just figured out it wasn't working and literally saved the biggest moment of the show.
Oh, that's great. A champion will adjust, my father says, and I've said that on this show before. A champion will adjust.
It was crazy. So the next weekend, somebody got the flu and couldn't be in one of the numbers. We had Taylor fill in one of the numbers in the dance number. And then one of the other cast members spent the whole week with her every day working on the dance moves so she could be in that number.
Oh, see the dedication. That's just, there's nothing like it. There really isn't. So I talked in the beginning about getting tickets, and I just want you to go through that again.
Any tickets that are available, they're very limited. There's 1,350 total. Tickets will be on sale online at northfieldschools.org. So there'll be a link there if you go to the high school page.
Okay, that's great. And do it right away after you hear this. Go on and get those tickets because they're going to go fast. This is a hot, hot commodity. And I'm so excited to have been able to have you on the show today so that people can hear about some of the behind the scenes things. I think that's always fun to hear a discussion with the director or the actors or whatever before you go to the show because it makes it a little bit more intimate.
Yeah, it's going to be a good show. And, I can't wait. I'm so excited for it.
Ray, thank you so much for taking time out of this, probably the busiest time of your year, to talk to me. I really appreciate it. And we learned a lot about the rock and roll revival this year called Dancing in the Streets. And I really look forward to seeing it.
Thanks a lot for having me. And it's going to be a good time. So I hope everybody can come and join us.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Ray. Take care. Thank you so much to the director of Rock and Roll Revival 25, Ray Coudret, for taking time to talk to me today. Thanks as well to all involved with Rock and Roll Revival for their work and dedication. Join me next week when I talk to Kai Legvold and Dave Shelby, two student musicians in the Rock and Roll Revival band. As always, heartfelt gratitude to you for listening to Musician Talk on the One, KYMN.